the 5 trends in 2022 that will surely affect the UK housing market and every property investor. Stay tuned! If I can change my life, so can you. Subscribe to my channel and I show you how. My name is Fabrizio Cravero and this channel is all about property investment for the UK and overseas investors. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We are going to create a community of investors that grow together. But now, your time is valuable and let's go straight to the point. Amazing 2021 for the UK property market. But now it's time to look forward to what the housing market will reserve for the property investors in 2022, including the predictions from Tim Bannister, the Rightmove director of property data. So, there are 5 trends that you should monitor during the year that will affect the property prices. First is definitely the inflation. The latest data of the rate of inflation in the UK show an impressive increase of around 5% in the 12 months to January, which is the highest rate in a decade. Is it good news or bad news for property investors? It depends. Of course, high inflation means that the prices in general are going up, and so are the property prices, which is a good news for the investors. Property and real estate income are probably one of the best ways to hedge against inflation. Plus, especially for the investors that use the interest-only mortgage, good video here if you want to know about the interest-only and repayment mortgages. The inflation erodes the real value of the money borrowed, and that's definitely a good news for the investors. But on the other hand, when the inflation rises, the central banks tend to increase the interest rate as well. In fact, the Bank of England in December, for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic, changed the interest rate from the historic low of 0.1% to 0.25%. And that leads me to the second trend to watch for property investors in 2022, which is the interest rate. Yes, inflation is a good thing for the property investors that use mortgages. But when the interest rate increases, very quickly the lenders tend to adjust their mortgage rate as well. I'm so glad that I got 4 mortgages at 5 years fixed rate just last year. But for my coming refinances, I will be paying close attention to the inflation and also to the reaction of the Bank of England as well. Sorry for the interruption. We get back to the video in a moment. You may be planned to invest in the UK, but you live far away from the area where you want to invest in. Or you live overseas like me and you don't know how to do it. I prepared a free training where I show you how you can invest in the UK no matter where you live. Join me in this free training. There is a link in the description below and I'll let you enjoy the rest of the video. Now, this is not a financial advice, but my personal opinion on the coming trend is that the inflation will keep on rising and so the interest rate, at least for a while. So my plan for the future will be to stress test my investment and make sure that I still have a good return also at higher rate. And if possible, I will try to fix the interest rate for 5 years if I find a good mortgage product. There is then 2 news that makes me being positive for the 2022 property market. One is that the number of first-time buyers is set to continue increasing. There is a mix of very attractive mortgage product reserved for first-time buyers and then the Help to Buy scheme for new homes. And why do I say that that's good news? What's the difference between first-time buyer and property investors? First-time buyers are looking for a home to live in, and they are usually willing to spend more for the place of their dream. Compared with the property investors that they should look at the numbers mainly. As I usually say, if the deal doesn't stack up, just run away. So the continued increase of first-time buyers will probably continue pushing the property prices up, maybe less than last year. Again, that's just my opinion, but probably the prices will continue rising in 2022 again. On the other hand, I just said that if the deal doesn't stack up, you should just run away. And the deal stacks up, if the returns are good enough to satisfy you. And what's happening if the property prices continue rising? It will be harder and harder to find good deals. So, the other trend to keep on following in 2022 is the private rented sector, the number of landlords in the market. The private rented sector keeps on shrinking for several reasons. First is the introduction of Section 24 that came into full force in April 2020. And second is the fact that by investing under limited company, the mortgage interest rates are not as favorable as under personal name. As a result, Hamptons predicts that the landlord purchases are likely to remain muted in 2022, below the level to replace landlords selling up. There could be 300,000 fewer rental homes in England than in 2026. So, the good news for the active property investors is that also the rents have gone up as a consequence. Outside London, rents grew by 6% in 2021, their fastest rate in 13 years according with Zoopla. Stock in the rental market was 46% lower in November than 2 years before. This allows property investors to keep on finding deals, even though it's getting harder and harder to find genuinely below market value properties. My personal opinion for the property market in 2022, if I can, is that the prices will continue rising, but probably, honestly, hopefully, with a bit less competition on the market, which will help everyone to find some good deals to grow the portfolio. And now, let's see what Tim Bannister, Rightmove Director of Property Data, predicts for the 2022 property market. While the 2022 property market will continue to be busy, we forecast it to be less frenzy than 2021, especially as more owners decide to come to the market in the first half of the year. Movers will benefit from good mortgage availability as well as more choice of property, especially with the usual surge of sellers coming to the market in the spring. Price rises will be slower this year compared to 2021. So, if you want to learn and start investing in UK properties in 2022, there is a link in the description below to the free sneak peek of the Property Investment Secrets course, where I can teach you how you can use the best investment strategies to increase your returns and beat the market. Let me know what are your investment plans in the comment below. Subscribe to the channel to keep on learning, and let's create a community of investors that grows together. Invest with knowledge, create financial freedom, and I'll see you in the next video.